Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the part three of the Safe Routes to School webinar series. We're so grateful that you're here today. We will get started in just a minute. We're just going to wait for a few more folks to hop on. So thank you so much. All right, I see a few people still coming in, but I think we can probably go ahead and get started. I will go ahead and pass along to Alex or Maggie. I'm not
Yeah, hi.
sorry.
No problem. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our third and final Safe Routes to School webinar as part of our three-part webinar series. So majority of today will be Q&A with IDOT staff. But we're going to get started. Alex and myself, we're going to get started with a few intro slides and then a few commonly asked questions. So you have time to type your questions into the Q&A button. Do we have a Q&A button or is it a chat button? So today the webinar will be recorded, so you can always refer back to it. It'll be posted on activetrans.org/SRTS, Safe Routes to School. And the previous webinars, webinar 1 and 2, have been posted there, as well as the slides in case you need to refer back to any of those recordings. There's lots of good information in those webinars. You're all muted, so you can please use the chat or Q&A box to ask your questions. And Alex and I will go through those after we get through some slides. And if you need closed captioning, it's available in the menu bar. And just a little background, so I'm Maggie Czerwinski, Director of Community Building and Leadership, and my colleague Alex Perez is here, Advocacy Manager, and we're from the Active Transportation Alliance, and we're a nonprofit advocating for walking, biking, public transit to create healthy, sustainable, equitable communities. And we're working with the Illinois Public Health Institute on this webinar series and bringing IDOT to you. So again, those webinar recordings, reviewing the grant, walking through the application, Q&A with IDOT are on our website, activetrans.org. And today is the final webinar. We'll start with, we have 7 questions that kind of came up in the last 2 webinars that Alex and I are going to go through. And then we'll bring in John Perez, who's the Special Programs Unit Chief over at IDOT. If you've been to the other webinars, you already know him, who's an expert in all things safe routes to school. So just briefly, Safe Routes to School, the grant that we're going over today, it's administered by Illinois Department of Transportation. It opened beginning of August, closes mid-October, October 15th. And this grant opens every 2 years, so it is the odd years. So, look for this again in 2027, around August. $12 million is available in funding this year, and it's 100% funding. That's not always the case. So when this happens, it's a special year. So that means no local match is required, 100% funding. So it's a great opportunity to improve walking and biking around schools in your community. And again, this particular grant, there are both infrastructure and non-infrastructure grants available. And it's for the 2-mile radius around elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools. So moving on to some questions, and please start adding your questions into the chat or Q&A. So we're just giving you some time to add those questions, and then we'll start reading through those shortly. But first question that was coming up in some of the other webinars, or just maybe people had questions on, was there's a sponsor and there's an applicant. The sponsor is is the agency that is actually administering the project. They are putting forth the funds for the project. They act as the fiscal agent. And then, of course, those funds will be reimbursed later by IDOT, but that is who the sponsor is for infrastructure projects. It needs to be the local public agency. So that would be a municipality, government, so a town, a city, a village. It could be a county government, it could be a park district, as long as it's a local public agency. For non-infrastructure projects, it's a larger pool of potential sponsors. So it could be that local public agency, it could be a school district, it could be an MPO, it could be a nonprofit. For as far as who is the applicant, so this can be anyone, it could even be a volunteer. So any representative, they are the first point of contact for the application with IDOT. So they should be very familiar with the application, the cost estimate, just kind of the details about your project. And you'll be there to answer questions if IDOT has any as they're reviewing applications. All right, so another question that was coming up. So who needs to complete GATA? So the Grant Accountability and Transparency Act. Everyone must be registered on the GATA portal. So if you are applying for Safe Routes to School, you need to make sure you're registered. And the URL is there, grants.illinois.gov/portal. For if you're applying for an infrastructure project, you do not need to fill out any GATA forms because local public agencies don't have to do that for infrastructure projects. If you are applying for a non-infrastructure project, however, there are 4 GATA forms that you do need to fill out. They're required, and you can go to IDOT Safe Routes to School webpage, and there are links to those 4 forms. And if you do have any GATA questions, the best source is to go directly to the GATA department, so dot.gata@illinois.gov. We do have on our Active Trans website, activetrans.org/SRTS, we do have some FAQ there, and there's some questions about simple questions about GATA that you could review if you had some questions, but anything else, email that address. So what cost estimates are required for the applications? If you are doing an infrastructure project, an engineer or a public works department needs to complete that estimate. They are the experts in the costs and kind of the details of what would be included in the project. For non-infrastructure projects, a cost estimate is required, but it does not need to be completed by an engineer. It's just anyone who's able to provide that cost estimate. And one note from John in a previous webinar was, and it was a question of like, can you include a contingency line item in your cost estimate, and do not do this, it won't be reimbursed. So that if you do, if you just thinking ahead, like within each of your items that you're asking for funding, embed any like contingency possibilities into each line item. Don't have a separate line item for it. And then I'll pass it along to Alex for a few other commonly asked questions.
Thanks, Maggie. One of the questions that we would like to ask is what are the parent surveys and student tallies requirements? So this is a question that I already see in the chat. Parent survey and student tallies are required. The parent surveys are the ones that are required for everyone to do in their application. Student tallies are highly recommended. So you don't have to do student tallies with your parent surveys, but it is recommended for you to get as many as those done. There is no requirement on how many you have to get done, just a matter of getting as many as you can and doing the report as a summary data only. So you do not feel free that you have to submit every single parent tally or student tally that you have done. Just submit a summary of the data, and that is fine. You can also develop your own online form to collect information. There is a form on IDOT's website that you can use, but if you want to create your own, that is fine as well. And as I mentioned, there are no minimum requirements for the surveys you should be collecting. So feel free to collect as many as you can and use that for your application. And if you have applied in 2023 in the last cycle, you're also able to use the survey data from that year as well. Next slide. And a question on when projects need to be completed by. So for infrastructure projects, the projects must be obligated within 18 months of when you were awarded the Safe Routes to School grant, and then construction has to be completed and projects closed by the end of year 3 from the date of award announcement. So after the 3rd year, you should be done with your construction for your project, and that's for infrastructure. And then for non-infrastructure projects, it must be completed and invoiced by the completion of 2 full school years. So, for example, if you are awarded in March 2026, the project must be completed and closed by May 2028. So make sure you're doing your timeline on a 2-year school schedule so that way you can get your project finished in time. Next slide. And then, so what are the Safe Routes to School no phone numbers? So this is when you're applying for your application, make sure you're adding the correct numbers. So for the no phone number, it's going to be 494001002. Agency opportunity title will be Safe Routes to School program. And then you could always refer to this slide as well too. If you feel like you're not writing the right information, feel free to refer to this slide in the future recording for you to double check that you are entering the right information for your no phone numbers. How do you submit your application? So when you go to I.Safe Routes to School webpage, you can download the application from there, download as a PDF. And then when you're submitting it, make sure you're submitting it to the OneDrive that's on IDOT's website. So you do not have to submit a hard copy of your application as long as you submit all your files into the PDF and as one PDF into the OneDrive, you are fine. You have submitted your application. And we are asking for people to submit their applications by 4:30 p.m. on Wednesday, October 15th. So just reiterating the deadline for the application, make sure you have submitted by 4:30 p.m. on Wednesday, October 15th. No, nice. And then we've seen a few number of questions already on the Q&A, so thank you for people who have been sharing their questions. Me and Maggie are going to sort through some of these and start answering some of your questions with John. Should we start from the top, Maggie? It's not that many. So I'll take on the first one. Thank you again for these sessions. Can you confirm that non-infrastructure grants have a cap of $100,000? Some material says $50,000.
Yes, the cap is $100,000.
Thanks, John.
Ignore 50,000.
Yes. So
Yeah.
the cap is 100,000 for infrastructure grants, non-infrastructure.
And then a question from John, is there is that a sister grant in 2026 or another grant? So in 2026, there's a ITEP grant, Illinois Transportation Enhancement Program grant that funds a lot of walking, biking, trail projects. So if that is what you're asking, or if that's not what you're asking, please feel free to type some, add more details there.
Right, so that's the school will always open somewhere around August 1st on the odd numbered years, and ITEP will open somewhere around August on the even numbered years.
Thanks, John. Next question from Lee Beckman. We have applications for multiple LPAs. How should we name our application files when uploading to OneDrive?
There is a, you're gonna make me look, Lee. Let me jump over. I'll tell you exactly what it is. On our Safe Routes page. There it is. the application instructions. Right under where it says submit completed application packets here, there's an application instructions document. If you open that up, that will give you a naming convention that we would like to see. And that naming convention would be the easiest for us. And it includes the name of the city or the first part of it is whether it's an infrastructure or non-infrastructure application, and then the city or village name, and then the county name, and the school name. So if you will follow that naming convention, that will separate the applications that you are submitting.
All right. And John, your voice is a little quiet right now on my end.
The voice is quiet. That never happens.
Okay,
I'm
good.
to speak louder.
There, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so great. The all of the naming information is right on IDOT's website.
Yep.
And then Sarah has a question about clarifying requirements for the student tallies and parent surveys for the application. And John, do you want to review that again?
Parent surveys are required. And those can be new ones that you're doing right now. Or we would also accept them from the last cycle. Because we know that they can be difficult. Student tallies are the little surveys that the teachers can take in their classrooms, and those are optional, but it's a good idea. It does give us a better idea of how many kids are walking and biking to school.
Next question, is the resolution still needed since it's fully funded this year? Typically, there is a resolution passed stating that the city or village has to fund to cover the matching costs. Since there is no matching this year, I'm assuming the resolution is not needed. Thoughts?
We do need of resolution or financial commitment. First to, support the project, support the concept of the project, and support the application to IDOT. Also, though, when you have your kickoff meeting, there may be items that would be included in the cost estimate that may not be eligible. So we need to make sure that the city or village has the funds and commit the funds for any items that would not be eligible.
All right. Good. And now it looks like there's a few more questions about just parent survey, student tally. Maybe I'll just go through a few of these, and you might have just answered this, but well, not this. So someone is wondering, can they complete for the parent surveys, could they use SurveyMonkey to compile the information? And I believe it's that is, yes, that's the case. You can compile electronically through another means. It could be SurveyMonkey, it could be Google Forms, it could be any type of online tool that would allow you to reach out to parents. And John, is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. And we like the idea of the electronic surveys. And one of the things on our list for the next cycle is to create one here in-house that we can give you to use, so that you have an electronic survey that you can complete. But, regardless whether it's electronic or paper, please just send us a summary of the results. Okay. We don't want to see all those papers.
So it doesn't matter how you collect the
That would be a
data.
very
for-
big file to download.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So,
Just a summary of however you collect the information.
Yep.
And then just related to the survey results, someone was wondering if they use survey results from the last cycle, would they be scored less if they
No.
don't have, additional surveys from this year?
no, it won't make any difference at all because we'll accept from the last cycle. That is just.
And then, Alex, I'll do this.
Go for it.
When again related to the parent survey, student tallies, when summarizing the data, they're wondering what information should be included. And is there anything particular that the scoring panel would be most interested in seeing?
On the surveys, we basically want to look at not only, how many kids are walking and biking to school now, but we also kind of want to see the potential. So what could be if the improvements are made. So we want to definitely see the comments that the parents are leaving. If these improvements are made and, would you allow your child to walk if you're not allowing them now? So we kind of want to see that potential and we just want to see, what are the concerns from the parents? So, make sure you include the comments also.
Next question. If only applying for a non-infrastructure grant, how to have a competitive grant if you're only applying for a non-infrastructure grant?
Probably the best way to be competitive. And this would apply, also for an infrastructure grant. We want to know that the community wants this. We want to know that they're interested. We want to know that they support it. We want to know, for instance, we want to see the community. So we want to see comments and support from the parents, the students, of course, from the school, of course, also the local public agency, the city or village, the local law enforcement, local public health, local businesses. We want to know that the community is coming together to support the project.
And then, John was asking previously about the 2026 funding opportunity, and that was tapped.
Okay.
But okay, so next question is for non-infrastructure applicants, wanting to submit a community travel plan, how would they break out the cost estimate if they're planning to hire a consultant to actually complete that travel plan?
I would talk to a consultant and, just basically, for our size community with the number of schools we have, and the way, our city's laid out, what would be, an appropriate cost, it's kind of up in the air. It kind of depends on who you talk to. The one we did for Glencoe in 2018, Maggie, that was, I believe, about 20,000.
Yeah, I think
I
so.
believe is what that was. Mendota is doing one right now. And they received 99,000, right up to the $100,000 mark. So it kind of depends entirely on the size of your community, how many schools you have, and what some of the hazards and barriers are in your community. If you have, a couple highways bisecting the town or railroads, that type of thing. And really the only way to come up with a reasonable cost estimate is actually speak to some consultants. You might want to talk to ATA because they may have some ideas. or some consultants that they can send you to that would give you an idea. Because I know Active Trains has some engineers, a list of engineers that will do some pro bono type work. As you know, and they would be able to help. So.
Yeah, definitely reach out to us if you're needing some help on your cost estimates, because we can get you in touch with the right people. But John, if you are hiring a consultant, can you just have one line being like community travel plan consultant fee and put that, or do you need to break out kind of the details of what how the consultant would be billing? Like, do you need to be like
One line item would be fine, but explain to us underneath how you came up with that number. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. This is kind of a new thing for us to be offering through Safe Routes to School. So we're kind of figuring it out right along with you. But you know, we will be totally flexible to your benefit, to the community's benefit.
Thanks, John. Next question. Can you utilize all supporting documents from the last cycle? Examples, your letter of support, stakeholder interviews, and other documents.
I will say yes, but it has to make sense. So, you know, if you have new businesses, new businesses, if you have a new administration in your community, you know, like a new mayor or somebody like that, if you have new school officials, I would definitely go out and get some new ones too. They need to be current.
And then someone is wondering if there's a document with infrastructure versus non-infrastructure grant ideas or items that are typically funded.
Oh, those would be found within the applications. There are lists of different types of project items. I think that look at the actual applications and you'll see some of those ideas or items that are typically funded and that are eligible. I think that'll answer your question. If not, shoot us an email if you have something specific.
And John, they could look at what was funded during the last couple cycles as well, right? I think that's on the Safe Routes to School IDOT webpage.
Yes, yeah. The actual awarded and non-awarded projects are on our website from the last 2 cycles, I believe.
Yeah, so you would get some like basic details about what was awarded funding.
Yep.
Great, thanks.
What do we put for funding cycle? This is just funding cycle 2025.
Okay.
If that's what I think that's answers your question.
Question from Andrea Larson. What is the difference on the GATA forms for the contact person for business and administrative office matters?
That would be your sponsor, whoever the sponsor is. So that would be the local public agency. If it's an infrastructure project, if it's a non-infrastructure project, it is whoever is considered the sponsor.
And then Jeff asks, do you want written construction bids in addition to engineering estimates for infrastructure application?
We just need an engineer, or it could possibly be like a public works director, someone who knows the current cost to give us the engineering estimate, to give us the estimate.
Just the engineering estimates, so you don't need the construction bids?
I'm not sure how to answer that. Construction bids.
Sure. Either.
Jeff, could you clarify that a little bit? I don't want to give you a wrong answer.
Alex, do you want to?
Yeah, we'll follow up, Jeff, if you end up following up on your question with yours. The next question, if a school district has collected their own data, can that be used instead of student tallies?
Yes, but just tell us, explain to us how you came up with that. How what you used to get that data. That's fine.
And then a question about awarded non-infrastructure projects. Is we're supposed to conduct and submit tally surveys again within 6 months of the project close. Is this a requirement for awarded infrastructure projects as well?
Yes, we would like to see that for both infrastructure and non-infrastructure. That gives us an idea of how the improvement or how the project impacted the way that parents are responding to the project.
So for both infrastructure and non-infrastructure
Walking and biking and that kind of thing. It's a little bit of an evaluation for us.
Mhm. Which is actually really valuable data that I feel like we often don't have for walking and biking projects. So that it would be great to see some of the results of the before and after. But yeah, good question.
Next question from Lori. Can this resolution for financial support be from the 2023 application, or should we get any resolution for the 2025 application?
It should be a new one. Your budgets have changed over the last couple of years. So.
And then question from Amy, is there any money given up front or all a reimbursement process? And it is a reimbursement process, but they're wondering when are the reimbursements processed? So how long does that take?
I'm not sure on the infrastructure part because that goes through our local roads department. So I really can't answer that, although I know when reimbursements are requested that they happen within a matter of 3-4 weeks. And it's also the same with the non-infrastructure. The non-infrastructure invoices are sent directly through my unit here, and we get those turned around pretty quick. So it's a matter of a couple of weeks, 3 weeks.
Thanks, John. Katie, since student tallies are now optional, would it be acceptable for someone who isn't a teacher to conduct a tally based on observation?
You could absolutely do that. Just explain to us how it was conducted.
And then, a follow-up about the resolution question. So because it is a reimbursement, does the resolution need to verify that the local public agency has the funds to like put down initially?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you say resolution or funding commitment letter can be provided so we can provide a funding commitment letter in lieu of a resolution?
Yes, and I'll tell you a funny little story about why that might be appropriate. We did have one village who contacted us during the last cycle and said by the time, basically told us that by the time the applications were due, all of their council members were snowbirds and were going to be in Florida or Arizona. So they didn't have a meeting scheduled. Yes, in that case, absolutely. If the mayor can write a letter saying that, the board is aware of this, they are in support, and we do have the funds available for any items that may not be eligible for reimbursement, that is fine.
Great. Someone asks, did you say, oh wait, hold on. Is that the same question? No, yeah, sorry. I was gonna read the same question again. So Jacqueline asks, you stated that the resolution needs to address financial commitment and basically supportive of the application. Are there any other required statements? Do you offer a sample resolution for review?
We don't offer a sample because a lot of agencies basically use different. It's basically a budget resolution saying that we support this project, we support the application to this for this project, and that we are, financially committed to fund any items that are not eligible for reimbursement. And we have the funds available to, front the, if need be. I will tell you that most of the Safe Routes to School projects will go on state lettings. So basically IDOT is fronting the money for you. So unless you plan on going on a local letting, which is very unusual, and you'd have to get permission from IDOT to do that, we're fronting the money anyway, so.
Great.
Next question. You just mentioned that some items in the cost estimates may not be eligible for funding. Are there examples of things that have not been funded in the past?
Let's see. Probably the most typical thing is if you are doing a shared use or multi-use path and you have trash receptacles as part of your project, those are not reimbursable. It's one of those odd little things that the feds don't reimburse. So it would be things like that. Or if something might be considered road work, if you're doing some bike lanes or something and you need to resurface over some parking spots, something like that, that would not be reimbursable.
Is there a question from Jeff? Is there a limit on parent and business letters of support that you would like?
No. As many as you can get.
Great.
And then kind of a follow-up. Do you need additional surveys if using surveys from last cycle?
I would say no, unless it makes sense. If for instance, you've had an entirely new subdivision open up since the last cycle, that's within the 2-mile radius of the school, you may want to make sure that you reach out to the parents and students in that subdivision, that type of thing. Unless there's a big difference, then no, you're good.
Next question is, when the application form asks school wellness policy incorporated, is it just asking you to attach the wellness policy, or is a discussion of the policy supposed to be incorporated in the application narrative as well?
We basically just want to know whether or not you have one. Some school wellness policies are very large. So, if you want to just include a page or a couple pages that addresses that is relative to your project, then you could do that.
It's basically like check that box if you have one and add some basic. attachment.
Great. Next question. Are engineer costs allowed in this grant, or would the city have to pay for the engineering costs?
Preliminary engineering is not reimbursable for safe routes to school. Right of way is not reimbursable. Construction engineering, however, is eligible to be reimbursed.
And someone is wondering if they can use non-infrastructure funds to pay a consultant to conduct surveys, studies, etc.
Technically, yes. But if you can do it yourself, it's better. For non-infrastructure, you can always hide those types of costs in some of the other line items. So we're not going to go looking for them. I'll say that.
Are school districts eligible to apply for Safe Routes to School?
School districts are eligible to sponsor non-infrastructure projects, but if the school district is applying for infrastructure funds, then they need to work with the local public agency, your school, or I'm sorry, your city or your village, because the local agency would have to act as the sponsor.
A question about public meetings. This person did theirs they had a public meeting by a Google Doc survey. Does that count?
Sure.
Check public meeting held. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. If it went out to the community as a whole, then yes, that would be considered public meeting.
Oh.
Please tell us how many you sent, how many responses you had, and include any comments that came back.
Nice. Has the application upload link been finalized and fixed? I think there were some issues when it was from the last webinar we held.
Yes, it seems to be fixed. So you should be able to go to the website, click on the submit applications here. I think it's in big bold letters, and you should be able to drop them right there in my OneDrive.
And then a question about who should be entered on the BOBS 2831 form, which is the Uniform Grant Agreement Affidavit of Disclosure of Conflicts of Interest. It asks for name of grantor's employee or officer.
That would be my name,
Oh,
John Perez.
there you go. So you asked the right person.
Yes.
Another question from Jeff. We have bids for the work. Would that help with our application?
Yes, that would go ahead. If it's already been bidded and it was not awarded, then go ahead and include that, but also make sure we have a current estimate of cost. If they're different, if there's a big difference in them. Sounds like it sounds like you have a specific situation, Jeff, that we don't normally see. So if you want to shoot me an email, feel free to do that, and we can discuss it to make sure we're getting the right stuff.
I think someone was just explaining, answering the question about engineering costs, that there are different types of engineering costs that you went over already. So another question is, if we have overlapping school districts within the 2-mile radius and each school district is submitting an application, should the applications reference all of the schools or just the ones in that school district?
You can absolutely reference it, and you can reference both applications. If you're turning in an application, go ahead and reference that there is another application being submitted by the neighboring school district. And part of our radiuses may overlap. Just so we know what's going on, that's fine. Yep.
And question from Sarah to confirm the budget resolution must be passed prior to the application and included in the application submittal.
Yes.
And then the last question we have here in the Q&A is AutoCAD Civil 3D can be used for the design drawing. It does not need to be done in MicroStation.
I don't even understand that question. Because I am not an AutoCAD or an AutoCAD person or an engineer. Go ahead and reach out to the IDOT district local roads office, and they should be able to answer that for you. Because that's the kind of thing they do.
Yeah.
You are outside my wheelhouse for sure.
All right. Well, thank you, John, for going through all of those questions. If anyone has anything else that is popping in their head, we do have time right now to check in with John. But if not, we can wrap up early. But John, I guess, do you have any parting words of wisdom for applicants? Or
Parting words of wisdom. I will say that I was able to get in a 2-week vacation, and I came back and I have had over 300 emails. A lot of them, probably 75% of those were questions about safe routes to school. So I think that tells me that we are going to be seeing a lot of applications. So it's going to be pretty competitive. And, again, I would say, the two things that we are going to look at, two of the more important things that we're going to look at as we are reviewing and scoring are going to be the project readiness, which would include the accuracy of the cost estimate and the public support. We've got to know that you have reached out to the community. And when I say community, not just the school and the local, to everyone in the community. The parents, the local businesses, public health, all of those people, law enforcement. We want to know that they are supportive and that they want this project. Okay, that's going to be extremely important. We want to see some excitement in the community about getting these kids walking and biking.
We got 2 more questions that came in. The first one, can we submit a funding commitment letter instead of a resolution?
Yes. Yes, you can.
Second question, how else can you demonstrate project readiness?
Again, the project support is kind of goes along with project readiness. If it's an infrastructure project, if you've already started or have completed the PE process, preliminary engineering, the closer you are to put a shovel in the ground, the better your score is going to be.
All right, we got one more that just came in. From Sarah, for educational programming, does IDOT have a preference for whether the program runs on 1 or 2 school years, and how many students will interact with the program?
No, if it's educational programming, like a curriculum or something like that, I guess, then yeah, if it runs for 1 or 2 school years, that is fine. And how many students will interact with the program? As many as possible. I mean, it depends on the size of your district or the size of your schools. So the more students that it impacts, the better off your application looks.
Right. Yeah, we're getting some last minute questions in here, so a couple more. So another one is, so the project that they're looking at is it's in a small community. Are these applications based on a higher number of community residents, will we have a chance of receiving funding? So if they're a small community.
You know what, if you have a small community and the entire community is involved and excited about this project, you have this, I mean, you've got a good chance.
Right.
So, it doesn't matter the size of your community. What matters is the amount of community that is involved and excited. Okay. If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just trying to emphasize that throughout your application.
All right, one more question we got in. On a previous awarded Safe Routes to School project a few years ago, we acquired right-of-way as instructed, but then after the project was funded by Safe Routes to School, our local district office made us reacquire the right-of-way utilizing the IDOT forms. Can you confirm that right-of-way is required prior to the application submittal?
Okay, this is something that has actually come up over the last couple of cycles. If you know you need right-of-way, go ahead and speak to the landowners. Let them know that you're doing the project. And if they are supportive of the project, go ahead and get a letter of support from them. Do not talk about money. Do not negotiate. Do not go out and buy the property. Simply because these are federal funds and there are a lot of federal requirements that come into play when we're talking about procurement of right-of-way. If you do something wrong, you could lose the project. Okay, so go ahead and let the landowners know we're going to do this project. Would you be in support of this project? And if they are, go ahead and get a support letter from them, but do not talk to them about money. Do not talk about negotiating or anything like that. Even if they say, oh yeah, we'd probably donate it, leave it there. Don't discuss any further. So, because we want to make sure that everybody's doing everything according to the federal regulations, we don't want you to lose the money. Okay.
So then after they're awarded, say, the Safe Routes to School funding, then they should be in contact
And
with
the feds
you.
get involved in the district,
Okay.
our district people get involved, and we make sure that you're acquiring the right of way properly.
Great.
Okay.
Next question, does the city need to provide both a letter of support and a resolution, or just a resolution for the application?
Well, if you're doing a financial resolution, that's fine, but then, yeah, have the mayor write a letter of support too. Or a couple of the aldermen or council members. They can do that separately also.
More support you show, the better. Next question, is there anywhere that states what the exact requirements are for the financial commitment letter, if a letter is provided, and not a resolution for the financial commitment component?
The letter just basically needs to state that it has been discussed with the board or the council, and there is support for the project and for the application for the project, and also that finances are available and committed for any costs that are not included in the grant. We just want to know that you're supportive of it and that you'll cover any costs that we can't.
Great. Yeah, two more that came in. Is the cost estimate, if the cost estimate is a bit over $250,000, could a letter of financial commitment from the city be used to account for the difference?
Yes. Yes, absolutely, because you will have to cover anything over 250,000.
All right, last one that we have for now. On the BOB S forms, do we leave the agreement number blank?
Yes, because there is no agreement number yet.
And one more. From Jessica, are villages willing to be the applicant sponsor since the school district cannot apply directly? The school district will grant us permanent easement. Does that mean the village is responsible for the maintenance of the paths on the school grounds, or can the two entities create an agreement that the school maintains? Staff is responsible, and would that need to be included in the application?
Yes, if the school district is granting the permanent easement and the school district is going to take over the maintenance, then yes, we would want to see the continued maintenance MOU. Yep. Perfect.
All right, we got a bit over 50 questions that we went through.
Great.
All right.
Great. Well, thank you, John, for joining us and answering all of these questions, and good luck to everyone. And wait,
Oh, we got one more from Jessica. As far as any upfront costs that may not be covered. That's not really a question, but
I'm not sure.
I guess it was referring to her previous question about the schools and maintenance. Can the Board of Education make a contract that they will pay for that and not the village?
Upfront costs that may not be covered, and the Board of Education make a contract that they will pay for that and not the village. That is between the Board of Education and the village. Our contract is going to be with the village. So, any funding issues that come up will be between IDOT and the village. Where the village gets the money to pay for anything that's not reimbursable, that's entirely up to the village. So yeah, then the board and the village would want to have their own agreement, but that's outside of us.
Great. Thanks for clarifying that for Jessica. And now that looks like we have gone through all our questions.
Great. Well, again, thank you all for joining today, and good luck with your applications. You have a little less than a month, so I think that's a good amount of time. We can turn in some great applications, and yeah, John will be looking forward to seeing all of the ideas you all have. So
Yeah, and if anyone has any other questions, you can shoot us an email at dot.saferoutes@illinois.gov, or you can also come directly to me. That's fine. John.Perez@illinois.gov.
great. All right. Well, thank you all, and good luck.
Thank
Thanks,
you, everyone.